Want help to grow your business? Download BRiN, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit BRiN.ai or search the App Store today.
G'day, I'm Troy Dean and you are watching Rinse and Repeat on Business Blueprint. This is the series where we are helping you create recurring revenue in your business because, as I've said before and I'll continue to say, recurring revenue really is the holy grail of all business models. Recurring revenue gives you predictable cash flow in your business. It allows you to manage the growth of your business and know when you can hire staff and when you can manage the expansion of your business. And it dramatically reduces the stress levels for a business owner because you're not waking up on the first of each month and having to work out where you're going to find tens of thousands of dollars to pay the rent and pay the staff and keep the lights on. I ran a client services agency in Melbourne up until about 3 years ago, and I tell you, it was pretty stressful. At the start of every month, you'd have to go and find lots of money to keep the business running, and over the last 3 years, I've managed to transition to a 100% recurring revenue business model, and it is a complete game changer. And my hope for everyone watching this particular series is that we can help you learn how to create some recurring revenue in your business as well. So, this is episode 4, how to develop the processes for your recurring revenue product. And here is what we're going to cover in this episode. We're going to find out how a lack of processes almost killed the expansion of a local company and how they learnt from their mistakes. We're going to define a standard operating procedure and talk about why they matter. We're also going to teach you how to identify all the standard operating procedures you need to deliver your product. You're going to learn how to document your SOPs so you can train your staff to follow them. You're going to learn how to test your SOPs to make sure they are followable. I think I just made up a word. And you're going to learn how to improve your SOPs by encouraging your staff to buy in. And then we're going to look at the system for creating your standard operating procedures without it being a time suck. And finally, I'm going to show you some tools to develop and protect your standard operating procedures. Are you ready? Let's get started. Okay, let's talk about your standard operating procedures product manual. What does that mean exactly? Well, a SOPs manual for your recurring revenue business is exactly that. It's an operation manual, if you like, on how to run every part of your business, whether it be sales and marketing, whether it be delivery, operations of the business, bookkeeping, filing, hiring staff, onboarding customers, customer support, firing customers, letting them go, financial, accounting, all of the different parts of your business that you need for your business to run successfully. And a product manual is a collection of your standard operating procedures, if you like, that you can literally hand over to someone and say, here's how we run the business, and here's how we run each department and each part of the business. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that and give you some real live case studies in a moment. But first of all, let's break down what a standard operating procedure is. Now, for some of you, this may be obvious. You may already have standard operating procedures in your business, and if so, that's great. Pat yourself on the back and know that you're ahead of the curve. Most business owners and entrepreneurs don't pay attention to this stuff because it's not very sexy, it can be a little bit tedious, and it kind of feels like work. Most entrepreneurs and small business owners just get busy doing the fun stuff like marketing or serving customers or designing new products. But I promise you the standard operating procedures will become the most valuable part of your business. So a standard operating procedure is exactly that. It's a standardized way that we operate a certain part of the business, and it is procedural by nature. That means it's a step-by-step process, like a checklist, if you like, that someone can follow to make sure that they're following the best practices and that we have a way of doing things. So in every business, you develop ways of doing things. There's ways that we sell our product. There's ways that we market our product. In our business, we use online a lot to market our product. In your business, you might go to trade fairs or expos, or you might go to networking functions. Well, what happens when you go to a trade fair? How do you set up your stall? How do you interact with customers? If a customer's interested in your product, how do you actually onboard them? How do you take an order from them? How do you fulfill that order? How do you handle customer support? Every business has a slightly different way of doing things. And hopefully you've worked out, or you will work out, the best way of doing things for your business. And what you need to do is start documenting that so that you can teach others how to do it when they come on board. So why do standard operating procedures matter? Why should you pay attention to this? Because as I've said, it's pretty boring, it's pretty tedious work, it's not very sexy. Most people just don't do this work. But here's why I think they matter, and here's why I know that they're important, because you just can't do everything. If you try and do everything in your business, you'll eventually have a meltdown. When you first start out as an entrepreneur, a small business owner, you are doing everything. You're literally, taking the order, packing the product into the box, taking it at the post office and sending it to the customer. But you can't continue to do everything as you grow. You'll just end up becoming overwhelmed with the sheer volume of work. So you need to document the way you do things. If you've worked out the best way of doing something, you need to document that so that when you bring staff on, you don't then have this added disruption of training staff how to do your job. That can be one of the biggest hurdles for small business owners bringing on staff is, I just don't have time to train staff to do my job. Well, if you just take a little bit of time up front to document the way you do things, then training staff becomes quite easy moving forward because you just hand over the procedure and train them how to follow the procedure. Systems are also the most valuable asset, I believe, that you can build in your business. The great example of the business that's been franchised all over the world is McDonald's, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about their business model in a moment. A lot of people will tell you the most valuable asset in a business is a list of customers. I don't believe that is the most valuable asset, because if you've built a list of customers and you've worked out how you've done that, well, guess what? You can document that, you can process it, and with the right skill set and the right product and the right marketing, you can go and do it again. You can go and build a customer list in a completely new market or a new region or a new country. So I don't think that a customer list is the most valuable asset in your business. I actually think your operations manual and your standard operating procedures are the most valuable asset in your business, because in those procedures should be a procedure for attracting and securing new customers and new business. Let's have a look at the McDonald's franchise model. We all know McDonald's, love them or hate them. They are a very successful business. All due respect to anyone watching from McDonald's, by the way, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. They're a very successful business. And when you buy a McDonald's franchise, there are lots of hoops you need to jump through. It's a huge financial investment. It's a huge training program to become a McDonald's franchisee. And you do not end up with a list of customers and phone numbers and email addresses at the end of that training that you can go and call and tell them to come into your new restaurant. No, you end up with an operations manual. You end up with the McDonald's way of running a restaurant. You end up knowing how to run a McDonald's restaurant. And part of that will be their marketing and their sales processes. So just to reiterate, when you buy McDonald's, you don't buy a customer list, you buy an operations manual for running a business. So your job is to think about all of the standard operating procedures that you're going to need to sell and build and deliver your product to your customers, and just start making a list of all of those procedures. A bit later on in the show, I'm going to walk you through the process for working out how to document those procedures and what to include, and then a bit of a productivity hack towards the end of this episode where I'll show you how to create those procedures very quickly. But right now, just think about all of the procedures that you're going to need to document and just write them down. So there might be, if you're a physical business, like a bricks and mortar shop, there might be a procedure for opening up in the morning. There might be a procedure for closing up at night. If you're an internet-based business, there might be a procedure for reconciling the transactions and payments in your accounting software. There might be a procedure for handling customer support tickets. Just write down at a high level all of the procedures that you're going to need in your business. Right now, I'd like to introduce you to a friend of mine, Tammy May, who runs a business called My Budget. When Tammy, who started out in Adelaide, which is my hometown, Tammy started her business there, and then she was looking to expand into another state, and she opened up a branch in Geelong that went horribly wrong, and that's because she didn't have her processes in place. So without further ado, let's go and learn from Tammy May. Welcome back to Rinse and Repeat in Action. You're watching Business Blueprint. My name is Troy Dean, and I'm here with my good friend Tammy May from My Budget. We are talking about processes. This is in this 6-part series, we're focusing on 6 different aspects to our recurring revenue business model, and in this particular episode, we're talking about processes. Now, a lot of people think processes are boring, but you've got a story to tell us which I think is more boring than not paying attention to processes. Tell us what happened when you expanded outside of Adelaide for the first time.
So I expanded to Geelong. We were getting a lot of inquiry out of Geelong, and I went over to Melbourne and I did saw some clients over here, and then I spent the day out in Geelong and thought, makes sense to open up in Geelong. I don't know, what did I know? I just thought it made sense. And I knew someone that lived there, and she was an ex-finance person, and she fitted into the company really well. So I thought, we've got someone who even lives there. Perfect, let's open there.
And at what point in the how far
journey were we? We were probably 6 years in, 5 years in, something like that.
Yep. So pretty well established in Adelaide. And
pretty well established in Adelaide, and thought, let's test this somewhere small, which was another mistake. But Adelaide's probably the smallest market we want to be in. But so opened up in Geelong and trained Nick, the girl, who was very competent at the role, and then she relocated did the training in Adelaide, relocated back to Geelong. And what I realised is we didn't have the right systems and processes set up to support someone externally. I thought that we did, but we actually just didn't have all the right systems, all the right processes. It was difficult for her, it was difficult for the clients, and in the end, it didn't work out. What I took from that is I needed to have much better, more sophisticated processes for the salespeople to follow, because they're no longer in our safe little office in Adelaide. They're out on the road, able to do whatever they like. They're seeing clients remotely. And also from a technical perspective, we needed to be able to support her and support the systems. Technically, she needed to be able to work online versus offline. There was a number of things that I had to get right first before we could do that again. And when we did open up our office, which was less than 12 months later in Melbourne, it was a huge success.
Wow.
And Melbourne still is a fantastic success for my budget. Mind you, it took a while because everybody asked me who I barrack for in football. And I was like, does that really matter?
Melbourne is the football capital.
I know. So I learned to try and avoid that question.
To continue enjoying this presentation, download BRiN, the world's first business advisor in your pocket. To find out more, visit BRiN.ai or search the App Store today.